And I was talking to people about when you have older kids and younger teens, black belts not really the only goal. The real goal is to produce instructors as they get to black belt. It's not like you wait till people get black belt, then you start producing instructors. And so we talked about, let me meet a couple people. So we talked about, how we can get teens involved. So if we have younger teens and tweens, even though they aren't to a level of like helping out instructor, they can help out in certain things. So if they were helping out with a graduation, they could line people up. They could sit down, talk to kids, keep them under control. It's all about getting people involved in your school at different levels, so they almost feel like you need them and they're less likely to leave. At the same time, you're teaching responsibilities and things like that early on, because probably the biggest complaint with hiring teens is they're not responsible. So if responsibilities is one of the things we're teaching and showing up and helping at time, we're kind of molding our instructor.
Yeah.
Which made a lot of sense to everyone. We kind of picked out that we'd really like to have a lot of teens. We just, if we have teens, it's got to be something more exciting than the student creed. It's got to be something that pertains to them. They got to see it as fun. That's also have to see it as affordable. I talked about parents love their kids, but sometimes they don't really like their teens because their teens are getting very expensive and they want them to earn things themselves. We talked about how we could maybe discount teens and get them to work for certain things. But I think the biggest stumbling block is how to get teens to know about our school and want to become involved.
Yeah.
I know Facebook's probably not the deal.
Well, yeah, I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I have ethical challenges with advertising directly to people who are under 18. I understand, I think parents are at a huge disadvantage when their kids are watching Saturday morning cartoons and there's just a team of marketers testing how to get my kid to come ask me about a new Nerf gun, And I get it. I'm in the same business of selling stuff. I get it. But so I do have trouble with that. However, I have considered being on more channels like Twitch and YouTube specifically in terms of having some content for teenagers. That's something that we've talked about here. But I think a big a big overlooked area is, don't we all have 7 and 8-year-olds? Like lots of them, and don't they all turn into 9 and 10-year-olds, and then don't they all turn into 11 and 12-year-olds? Like, as opposed to just attracting new teens, because I know that is hard. Shouldn't we take the low-hanging fruit and keep those other ones around?
I've always agreed with that. Like, grow your own teens. I think a lot of my success in my school in Florida was getting kids, like you said, that were, mine were I think a little bit older, like 10 or 11. I had quite a few middle school kids, and so I kept them around. But you're still talking 6-7 years.
Yeah. I mean, we have a teen-only parkour class, and we used to have a teen-only martial arts class. I do think the right person has to teach it. I know that Scott's talked about you specifically, and when you did your school, how you had matching the right instructor to the right program. And I think that's something that sometimes people miss. I know for a fact right now that I have one of my instructors that teaches that class is right. He's a 19-year-old, looks like Spider-Man, balances on bars like he doesn't weigh anything. The other day we had ropes hanging from the 15-foot ceiling, and he sat in a sitting position, sat on the floor, and then just used his arms with his feet straight out to crawl all the way to the top. So that teenager's like, oh my God, I want to be able to do that, right? But it also takes an adult who is, I think that kind of person needs some direction. And the adult that we have is really good with the little kids, but not as good with the teenagers. She's too lax. You can't let them run the place. So I think that's really a fine line. It's really hard to find the person to guide the class forcefully when necessary, but also be cool. So cool enough for the kids to want to be there in the first place, and then to stick around long term. Can you find the right cool instructor with the right cool hair and the right cool gi, and let them have a hyper program or something where they're doing something that's a little more out of the norm? Maybe that's a better solution.
I was talking to my daughter. This was when she was in high school, and I was saying, we're talking about kids her age in high school. Do they take martial arts? She goes, no one takes karate. I go, no. She goes, all my friends take kickboxing. So, I mean, that's just terminology. All of a sudden I started adding the kickboxing. Yeah, we do kickboxing. We box, we kick. It's more terminology, but kids thought that was cooler.
Yeah.
I did a round table with teens one time, and teens didn't want to take from me because it was like taking from their dad or their grandfather. So that's why I hired that young guy. I also had teens that were in my kids' classes. They didn't want to be with kids. So I started with 2 teen classes a week. Once I started building up my teen class, then I went to 4 times a week. But I did have a teen-only class.
Yeah, we do. We see that with we have the ability for our teenagers to come on Saturdays as well, but it does have some of our 7 through 12-year-olds in it, and none of the teens come because none of them want to be in the class with the 7-year-old. And it doesn't matter that they're doing the same things, it doesn't matter that it's the same stuff. And there's plenty of 10 and 11-year-olds, but if there's one 7-year-old, this is dumb, I'm not coming, they really want to be treated like adults. Now we do every year we didn't this year, but we do instructor training, and that really does help keep them around and give them some purpose and some things to reach towards. They do like to contribute. I can keep them in 7-year-old classes if they know they have something to contribute. They feel a little special. They get to stick their chest out a little bit, Yeah,
I mean, if they're a member of a SWAT team or a competition team, or they're just allowed to come to graduation and make sure that the responsibility puts them into a smaller group from the big group, and then they feel special.
Yep.
I was talking to Kemp Brown. I say he's on today. He's unique in that he volunteers his time to the school system. So when I talked to him this morning, he was just coming back from volunteering, and he knows the principals really well. So since he's doing your parkour program, what he's doing is he's going to try to get in front of the kids by volunteering to do gym classes and introducing to them to some parkour skills. So, I mean, at least that's a way, getting in front of someone showing this is pretty cool. A lot of teens want to do this. It's easy to get in the school system because we're keeping the kids active. And being a martial artist, I'm going to teach the martial arts values and principles along with my parkour, just like you do. I mean, that makes it totally easy to get into the school system. So that's one way to get more teens.
Yep.
So I think that's why I'm really trying to discuss and try to get ideas from people. Instead of growing our own, do we make it affordable to the teens? Well, how do we even get in front of them?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that we can specifically still target parents. Like you said, yes, teens are getting expensive. Absolutely. However, you're also, I mean, I don't have a teenager, but I know that parents get, they start getting like, okay, my ability to influence this person is waning, right? Like, it's pretty easy for me to tell my 6-year-old daughter to go brush your freaking teeth because it's time to go to bed, right? Like, it's time. My 9-year-old kids get a little harder. I imagine it's going to get even harder when they're 12, even harder than 15. So, like, maybe if there was more focus on, hey, mom and dad, we can specifically do all the things that you are already wanting to do, but they're not going to ignore us. They think we're cool. Like, look, we know that you're dumb. We know they think you're dumb. We know you're not dumb. We're going to say the same things. You're going to whisper in our ear. We're going to tell them, and they're going to go, okay. And it's the same thing with the little kids. Maybe that's the unique selling position or USP for a teen focused marketing effort. We're not putting out teen marketing yet, but we are going to once we have the right mix of instructors in that teen class. I think we have like 8 or 9 enrolled. That means only 5 or 6 are showing up for each class. So until we have the right mix down of instructors, I don't want to start packing a bunch of kids in there because You have to have some congruency in your marketing. If you say that that's going to happen in your marketing and then it doesn't happen, that's a pretty easy way to lose that student.
Yeah. I like that. Also, start thinking about teens want to be, if you're going to attract a lot of teens, there has to be kind of the factor that you're hanging around with some cool kids. You don't want to I'm not trying to say anything bad. You don't want to hang around with some perceived as a nerdy kid who belongs to the chess club or the book club. You want to hang around with someone who's probably on the football team or something like that. So you have to start attracting not only other teens, but you have to look for the right teens.
Yep. Well, and that's what I say, the right instructor, because the right instructor could give that sense of cool and could also influence the other kids to, hey, I know Johnny is skin and bones and his glasses are falling off his face and he looks like a nerd, but we are cool because we include Johnny, right, buddy? And they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. Like kids are starting to think not bullying is cool. Like that's becoming cool, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that you could potentially, finding the right instructor, get that sense and then start attracting other cool kids. And that's why I like the parkour stuff, because they don't have to wear a gi. And God, I got to tell you, man, it is so hard to get those kids in a gi. I've got a couple of 14, 15, 16-year-olds that are black belts already, and they're okay with wearing a gi because they've been doing it since they were, their profile picture on Rainmaker is them in with a diaper on, right? So they've been here forever. And one of them got sneaky the other day, and he went up and he, without my permission, told the front desk girl to change his picture. And so now I don't have his old picture anymore. I'm irritated. But they're okay with that. But a brand new teenager coming in, that's a pretty awkward thing, is to put on a gi and put on a belt. And if you have that culture where kids are doing it and they're just signing up, then tell me what your secret is. Do you look cool? Do you have cool hair and tattoos and leather wristbands or whatever the heck is cool today? But I don't see teenagers really digging that kind of stuff. So maybe you need, like you said, kickboxing. Maybe it's the same curriculum, but with boxing gloves instead of sparring pads.
I got the MA Success magazine. On the back cover, I think they had 4 kids that looked like they were in a tournament walking down the hallway, and they had a fancy uniform. It was like the Tracy's thing with the optical illusion black. Actually, they looked pretty cool. That's different. They didn't look like the most popular kids in school, but they looked like kids that kind of were proud that they're in these uniforms, that had their belts on, and probably part of a special team. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, you got to look at other activities. For example, a really good example is Cub Scouts versus Boy Scouts. I don't know, was anybody a Boy Scout? I was an Eagle Scout, right? I was too nerdy to know that. I knew it wasn't cool, and I didn't tell anybody about it, right? But all of my kids are Cub Scout. All of my little kids that are running around, they're always coming in their little Cub Scout uniforms because they're in 3rd grade and their parents just take them and all their friends are there, and so it's fine. But going to Boy Scouts is okay, that's not so cool anymore. And you look at it, literally there's 7 Boy Scouts and 70 Cub Scouts. So the same thing is happening to them. It's to Boy Scouts of America, that same idea. I think if we looked at those things and said we need to stay away from that and figure out how to – it's not unique to us. It's not that they don't like martial arts. It's that they're teenagers and we have to accommodate those attitudes.
So sitting down and doing a roundtable with any teens you have, or kids that are close to teens, I think it's probably a little bit easier hiring a teen instructor than you think. If you just went, I probably told you this, but I was at a bowling alley one time, and there's a whole bunch of teens bowling next to me, and they were really competitive and they're really good. I figured they're on some type of team, so I went to talk to this older guy in the back. He goes, they all play high school baseball. And I go, I could take any one of these kids and give them a job and make them a good martial arts because they're all athletic, good looking, and you can see they're highly competitive. He goes, no one can go off my team and play, do karate. But still, if you hire someone who's like that, Doug Bertrand down in Vancouver, Washington, he hires teens with no experience and actually trains them to become instructors. Yeah. It's not like you have to have a huge skill level to teach a little kid martial arts or your team martial arts. If you're athletic and you can throw 4 basic kicks, and
what do you have to? You have to be able to hold a pad, right?
Yeah.
Can I hold a pad with one hand and give a high five with the other? then I probably and not look like a weirdo or like a creep or like a whatever. Then I totally agree. It's the same thing, like they hire 15-year-olds to push carts at Walmart. You gotta teach those, or Walmart, whatever, local grocery store. You gotta teach those kids. We have a 16-year-old on payroll right now, and God, it's like he alone is like wrangling a whole herd of cats. It's like, no, don't go this way. Don't go this way. Have you got the broom yet? No. He told me the other day, he goes, do I have to come in on Saturday? And I was like, yes. Why? What's the problem? Well, there's an anime convention in town. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking it's only during the time when his shift is. And his shift is literally from 9:30 to 10:45. That's it. That's all he's got to be there. And I was like, well, how long is the anime convention? He goes, oh, it's 3 days. And I'm like, then you can come to work for an hour and 45 minutes or whatever and then go. And he was like, oh, okay. It's like they think their brains work, their brains don't work. So we've got one on staff. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I think the whole point is that if you're someone listening to this or watching this, you go, well, they made some really good points. I need some cool-looking 20, 22-year-old or 18-year-old to teach my classes, someone who's athletic, who's strong, commands respect. I don't have anyone like that in my school. Well, that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you have to look someplace else. So it's not like it's a bad idea. It's a good idea. You just have to find a way to make it happen. I hired mine from another state, and I paid him to move down.
Oh, wow.
He was from upper state New York, and I paid him to move down and his wife to move down, but I got someone who's really good.
And there's plenty of kids in that age range, 16 to whatever, who want jobs, but it's hard to get hired at that age. You know, I remember being in high school, putting out applications. I tried to get hired here, tried to get hired there, and I couldn't. It's hard to get hired at that age. And if you, as an owner, are willing to do the teaching and the instruction and the mentoring there, maybe you have your next full-time instructor for life.
I was saying one time, this is really far off, but I was saying I would hire someone, pay them to take class. I'm looking at what do I have to do for a job? Well, you have to come in here and you have to watch me teach. And then for the next hour, you have to take a class, and just pay someone to take class. But hire the right person. Hire a good-looking 18-year-old kid or 17-year-old kid who I think is going to be good. And it just, okay, I'm going to pay you to take class. And then if you start taking class, I may pay you to help me assist in the class and kind of just mold them in.
This is going to sound bad, but you also have to be aware, and it's okay to have these kids in, but if the kid is too good, they're going to be on a trajectory to be out of here, which is fine. But you have to remember that we had a kid who's I swear to God, this kid's going to be president. His name was Kyle, and he's 6 foot tall, super kind, super popular. All the girls were whispering about him, and he was a great teacher, great helper, great black belt, super athletic. But he's in the Air Force. He's gonna be he went to the Air Force. He's gonna be a captain, then he's gonna be a freaking admiral, and then he's gonna be on a stage somewhere. There was no way he wasn't going to go to a top college. He wasn't going to stay here and work for me. He kind of wanted to, but he knew this isn't what I'm going to do forever, So finding the right person who's got all those character traits, but also maybe doesn't pay attention so much in school. It doesn't have the grades to go anywhere. That's the kid I want.
A little bit. You might know who Mike Perry is with Maya.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Perry was one of my black belts at my school. He wanted to go to college. I was good friends with Frank Silverman. Frank goes, I wonder if he wants to go to Central Florida. Frank hired him as an instructor and paid for his college.
Wow, yeah.
Because he knew this kid. He says, this kid's going to go some places, so I'm willing to do some investment. So he brought him up to Orlando. I'll put him as instructor and paid for his college. So
that's crazy, yeah. Well, why not, right?
Yep. And then after college, he decided to keep working with Frank, and now he's working with Maya. So
yeah, exactly. Putting in the time and the investment. And I was just complaining about my 16-year-old, but the reason I put him on staff over the summer and the reason I paid him minimum wage, whatever we're paying him, is so that we can make those investments and make those corrections and help that person hopefully be eventually the kind of person that we want. But yeah, I do. So if you guys don't know what Twitch is, so we may not be I know I look younger than I am, but I've never been a big video game person. I don't know if you guys are like gamers or whatever, but I'm not. But that does, you can't let your own bias blind you from what's actually happening. Twitch and YouTube, kids literally sit on YouTube and sit on Twitch and watch other people either play live or recordings of video games. And they do it for hours and hours and hours. If you've ever been on YouTube and it's suggested, like the suggested videos are of like a video game and you're like, what the heck is this? It's because the way YouTube's algorithm works. Look, we've got millions of people watching a 2-hour-long gameplay. This must be a cool video. You know, the AI thinks this is a cool video. Let's serve it to other people. So those would be places to advertise, targeting people in your area who are that age, and then advertising directly on those types of videos would be a way to, or even getting involved in making content surrounding that. Like, you know, or do you have gamers in your place? I bet they would love to be in their gi and have a game tournament in there, you know, sponsored by, you know, Sun Martial Arts. You know, Sal's school is now going to sponsor a video game tournament and put it on Twitch or put it on YouTube or whatever. It's the Tulsa's local video game tournament. So there are ways to infiltrate that teen market. You just have to be aware of what they are.
When you say advertising, are you talking about advertising just on like the beginning of a YouTube?
Yeah, like a pre-roll, or like there's pre-roll ads, or there's also ads that pop up on the bottom of them. But also, and then that's just like hard advertising. But you can also create content that's going to be in that in that genre, right? So like in the genre of these video games and there's not just video games, there's also this other this whole world. You guys should look at it. This whole world of additional content. So like they'll take video game characters and they'll like put them into videos that they create of the video game characters, and it's just like this whole rabbit hole that all these kids are watching, and they're just consuming all of this content, and a lot of it is created by their own little community. Imagine whatever community you're in that's not martial arts.
My question would be, since I'm not a gamer, I'm not a video game person, I just have a general maybe bias that if you're a gamer and you're hanging out for 2 hours to 8 hours a day winning, you're probably inactive and generally fat. That's what I'm thinking.
See, and that's all of, you know what? You should ask, you should poll your kids, just walk through randomly. And I don't know so much about girls, but I know the boys do. Girls kind of do, but ask them. Do you watch video games on YouTube?
No.
Half of them are going to say yes. You know, it's just normal stuff now. Like, it's not like it was when we were kids, man. They're all internet connected. They've all got headsets on. They're all talking to each other. Like, I don't let my kid play Fortnite, but he plays Minecraft a lot. But Fortnite, Minecraft, all these games where they get to interact with each other are so huge. So that would be definitely a place to at least explore content creation.
Really,
I like to see. I would like to see if someone does that and says, because at the end of the day, okay, that's my general understanding, but I'm probably ignorant to the real facts. But I would like to have you or whoever is trying to do this and say, yeah, I sent this out and I got a bunch of either fat, overweight kids that came to my school because they were just fat and overweight, or hey, most of the kids are actually pretty fit and they just do that for fun. I'd like to know, and I'd like to be proven in some way wrong that all these gamer kids are not inactive kids who are just like not socially inept.
Look at the kid who won did you see the kid who won the Fortnite tournament recently?
I'm not. I've heard about it. Like he won $1 million.
Oh yeah, $3 million freaking bucks. $3 million.
Was the kid fat?
No, no. He was a normal kid, normal looking kid. Man, everybody is playing Fortnite. I think part of my bias comes from the fact that my parents wouldn't buy me a freaking Nintendo. Yeah. And when I said I wanted a Nintendo, my mom said, yeah, earn your own money and then you can buy one. And it took me from the time Nintendo was released or whatever all the way until Sega was released, and I had $100 and some odd with tax. And I was like, all right, let's go do it. And then they still said no. And so I'm like, all right, I hate video games, right? So I think that's where my bias comes from. However, I'm telling you, so my little girl is definitely the most athletic kid out of all the parkour kids in her class. And she plays as much Minecraft as I'll let her all day long.
I think my bias is I've read some things like, hey, being in the video, playing video games and all that stuff kind of numbs your mind, your creativity and things like that. Now I know that there's things right nowadays, like in the military, they talk about, the UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles that is supposed to be replacing pilots, which is sort of like video game. Okay, I get that. But I don't know. I don't know the total statistics of, on average, hey, all these kids play video games from 2 to 6 hours a day, and this is the result of what they're doing. They're basically this, and this.
Well,
or, actually these people who are playing video games are now really cool. They're very animated and they're very social because they're talking with their other friends about it, blah, 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 blah.
Well,
I don't know.
It might be, though, that teenagers consider themselves the latter and parents consider them the former. And so maybe we advertise the teenagers as, hey, we know you're cool because you're gamers. Come pretend to be gamers at our place. And we advertise to the parents, hey, we know your kids are turning out to be losers because all they do is want to play games. So bring them in here and we'll do something better. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe we just advertise to 2 different channels and tell everybody what they want to hear so that we can get better students or get more students.
Try it out, William. Let me see the result.
I will. I'm telling you, I need the right teacher for my parkour program, and I'm working on it. And as soon as I do, I'm gonna put. I am considering heavily advertising towards the teenage demographic and figuring out how I can reach out there. I really am. I just don't.
Better you than me. You lead the way, and I'll follow.
I will. I'll hold the flag.
I think the whole deal with this meeting is to become solution oriented, and we know we want more teens. We want to grow our schools. We want to have more locations, things like that. Well, we need people to work for us, so we came up with 2 solutions. Say one is different ways to get in front of them, and the second is bring someone in who doesn't do martial arts and teach them to become an instructor. But at least those are viable ideas instead of just saying, hey, I don't have teens, I don't have the right instructor, so screw it, I'm just going to teach little dragons all my life.
Well, one last thing that I'll say, and I discovered this with parkour, is there are a ton of gymnastics, cheer, and tumbling teenagers because they age out of their programs too. If you're not going to the Olympics, at some point, there's not a lot else for you to do. There are a lot of teachers who have that kind of experience who, if they saw your job ad, and it said, hey, no martial arts experience required, are you a gymnast or a tumbler or a cheer person? Well, because what that means is they can probably, if they can go 1, 2, 3, they can probably go 1, 2, 3, high five, right? It's the same thing. Yeah. So we have had real success. We've had 2 really phenomenal girls who have taught our classes. They're cute, they're fit, they're able to talk to parents, they're able to talk to kids, and it's not like the 13-year-olds don't want to hang around with them. Mm-hmm. So that's something to consider.
Cool stuff. All right, sir.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much. Awesome. Take care, everyone.
Grandmaster Silva.
Yes, sir.
I sent you a text, not for today, but maybe if you